You're the crew that's been sticking it to Albion? Can't believe someone else is. Thought I was alone, right? Not doing much, just putting the word out. But you? Taking action, mate.
Yeah, well, I was getting pretty bored sitting around watching old sitcoms. Plus, you know, go democracy or whatever.
Because the current world we're living in isn't quite dystopian enough for Ubisoft Toronto, Watch Dogs Legion has finally arrived to let us roam a politically crippled near-future London that's now being policed by a private military outfit. Brexit has happened, job losses are abundant due to the increased reliance on tech, and oh, the Houses of Parliament have just been blown up by a mysterious rogue hacker group too. Luckily, while Legion's version of the English capital is no doubt oppressive, it makes fighting back against the system as DedSec's London branch feel even more cathartic, especially since the game's unique hack anything become anyone conceit largely delivers. I'm Aaron from Console Deals, now let's get into why.
Oh yes, been waiting my whole damn life to kick some bollocks.
The biggest question we had going into Watch Dogs Legion was whether the lack of a main character would help or hinder the open world experience. Ubisoft has, after all, proved itself the master of this and perfected it countless times before, though surprisingly the answer is neither, which to some will be a success in and of itself. You see, Legion's central hook is that instead of sticking with just one protagonist throughout, every NPC you come across can be recruited to the cause, bringing with them a suite of distinct skills, weapons and perks. Some are of more use than others, as you'd expect, but for the most part Ubisoft has made seeking out such character templates as a children's entertainer, MI6 agent and even a football hooligan worthwhile. It helps that the mission design is incredibly straightforward, though this does end up harming Watch Dogs Legion in the long run, more on that later. Most scenarios simply require you to sneak into a reinforced building, rescue an important person or salvage some valuable data before having to escape again. In most other games of this ilk, even prior Watchdog ones, your approach to doing this would be spelt out for you. However, a builder's ability to, say, summon a cargo drone and ride it to the very top of a structure plays out very differently than if you were to work your way up to the same position using stealth techniques as a professional hitman. As previously mentioned though, the various DedSec members being so flexible in their abilities does necessitate that your objectives throughout this 15-hour campaign are fairly by the numbers. There's always a building that needs breaking into, a hostage that needs saving, or a car that needs to be stolen. Doing this is fine for the most part, but some monotony did tend to set in for us around the 6-hour mark, when it was our 10th or 11th time doing so. Even the basic hack opportunities available to all members of your squad, like remotely controlling a spider bot or disabling drones, can soon grow to become tiresome. The last thing we'll say on the become anyone concept is that, while cool from a pure gameplay perspective, it does creak a little whenever the narrative rears its head. This is most evident during in-engine cutscenes, when two recruits tend to speak at each other rather than engage in anything that closely resembles a genuine conversation. And while there's every chance that a thuggish graffiti artist with a middle-class Chelsea accent actually exists in real life, Legion's roguelike nature can sometimes result in occasions where the face and voice of a character in no way lines up.
Well, you can keep sitting on your ass, or you can grow a pair and help the people you care about.
Thankfully, dialogue and personas fare a lot better in predetermined characters that aren't under your control. Watch Dogs Legion might be built around the idea of routinely changing your guise, but there's still one important character we've yet to mention. And in case you hadn't already guessed, this is probably the best depiction of London ever featured in a video game, bar none. A title held up until now for us by 2002's The Getaway. Whether it's when drifting past Piccadilly Circus's digital billboard, or performing keepy-uppies just outside DedSec HQ near Parliament Square, it's hard not to feel like most of the city's boroughs and sites have been expertly captured here. Legion being developed by a non-English studio does sometimes lead to certain elements of the city feeling a bit cartoonish though, with certain hospitality signs and knockoff shop names in particular working too hard to squeeze in an unnecessarily cockney pun. Then there's the general NPC barks that you'll hear while exploring the world, which always seem to be filled with passers-by using the F-bomb for every other word. At times it can feel like Ubisoft Toronto assumes all Englishmen to be nothing but foul-mouthed extroverts, yet such odd-looking and sounding colloquialisms likely won't be a problem for international players. Iconic landmarks such as Big Ben, which you get to climb through in one memorable sequence, and Buckingham Palace are recreated in meticulous detail here, albeit sporting their own hacker-infused revolutionary makeover, which makes sense in the world. The story makes several excuses to have you visit most of these locations at least once, and the novelty of seeing how each one has been adapted for this newly established surveillance state hardly ever wears off. Getting around by car or bike can be a little irksome at times due to the real-life constriction of certain roads, as real-life Londoners can attest to, but it all contributes to the believability of the location and helps add some extra immersion. Sadly, it's quite ironic that Watch Dogs Legion can struggle sometimes on a technical level with certain aspects. Waiting upwards of a minute on an Xbox One X for a fully recreated London to load in initially is fair enough, yet our patience did start to wear a little thin when we had to do the same upon entering and leaving certain indoor areas. It's not like we can avoid this either, as some are key or essential to the story. Load times even appear when wanting to switch between operatives, a sin considering that the game should be encouraging you to do this as much as possible. And then it hurts even more when you consider that this was better handled in GTA 5, a game that came out 7 years ago, when switching between Franklin, Trevor and Michael. No doubt these egregious load times will improve in the next gen version, but a patch for current consoles would be very much appreciated. Is Watch Dogs Legion an early sign of where open world games are going on PS5 and the Xbox Series? Not really, though it just about manages to sidestep most of this pressure thanks to a wildly inventive core mechanic that works, an impressive recreation of future London, and the freedom to approach missions however you choose. Pace disrupting load times and repetitive objectives aside, this hacker's paradise never fails to be a fun ride, even if Ubisoft's apolitical stance is staunchly stuck to here, given the potential of its totalitarian subject matter. We give Watch Dogs Legion a 3 out of 5.
All right then, come on out. I'm not gonna cut you.